Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my review for Marvel's Disney Plus show, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So like WandaVision, I'm going to do this. I'm going to briefly go over each episode and I'll talk about the show as a whole at the end. But before I get into the review, be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Marvel content, and go ahead and share it with friends if you like the video as well, if you like the channel. And if you want to support the channel and me as a writer, you can go ahead and check the link in the description below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thank you everybody for supporting me, and let's go ahead and get into my review for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So the first time I saw this show, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Not as good as WandaVision, but I thought it was okay. And one of the things I think the show does really well is it fits really well in that Captain America sort of world of the MCU that they've established already. Partially because we have Sam and Bucky, but it just kind of feels really more grounded into that, super soldier world. And so I really like that. I think watching it the second time, I think I've enjoyed it more. But we'll go ahead and go into that stuff at the end of the review. So episode 1 starts with this really cool aerial fight with Falcon versus Batroc, who was in the beginning of Captain America the Winter Soldier. So Batroc is back in this show as well. And it's a really cool aerial fight. Sam's flying around, the helicopters and stuff. And it's a really good way to show how Sam can utilize the Falcon suit in combat. And, it's nice to see a minor villain returning like Batroc. And so it's a really cool scene. And I really like it. It's a good way to just kind of throw us into the show and get our adrenaline pumping a little bit. And so we learn Sam has been freelancing kind of for the Air Force. And we meet his sort of right-hand man, sidekick, Joaquin Torres, who will kind of help Sam with the villains throughout the show. And then Sam gives the Captain America shield that he got from Steve at the end of Endgame. He gives that to the Smithsonian because he kind of believes that he's not worthy of the shield yet. And we get a small cameo of Rhodey, so that's nice. Just kind of establishing we're still in the MCU world. These characters exist. And then we catch up with Bucky, and we get the cool flashback of Bucky as the Winter Soldier. And we see him taking out a bunch of people, and unfortunately he kills a young man who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then we see that Bucky has been in therapy, government-mandated therapy, as a part of his pardon for his crimes as the Winter Soldier. And his therapist also, she calls him James, because I know his name is James Buchanan Barnes, but it's really weird to hear somebody call him James, because we just know him as Bucky. But I do like the therapist. I think it's a good way to show Bucky's progression and how he's, been working to overcome the Winter Soldier programming. And then we see him hang out with this older guy, Yori. And then he's setting him up with the date with the bartender lady. And it's really awkward and stuff. And then we learn that Yori is actually the father of the young man that he killed that we saw in the flashback. So that'll come back to play at the end of the show. And then we also meet Sam's sister down in, I believe they're in Maryland, I think. Or Louisiana, I think. Sam, I think, lives in Maryland. Yeah, I think they're in Louisiana. And she wants to sell the family boat, but Sam doesn't want her to. But she doesn't have any money to fix it up and restore it. And so Sam goes to the bank trying to hope to get a loan. But of course, he doesn't qualify for the loan because he has no income because he was gone for 5 years. And so we start to see the mess that the blip has caused for everybody who was gone for 5 years and now they're back. And it's well, what do we do with these people? And that's sort of one of the themes of the show. And then we get Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers, who are the villains of the show. And they're sort of fighting to restore the world the way it was during the blip. 5-year blip, because since everybody has returned, the government, the council hasn't been handling the readjustment very well. People are being, displaced and everything and struggling, like Sam with the loan. And so that's sort of their cause that they're fighting for. And then the episode actually ends with the reveal of the new Captain America, John Walker. So Sam donated the shield, and then they just gave it to somebody else. Of course, that upsets Bucky. And then so in episode 2, it opens with John Walker being introduced as the new Captain America, and we meet his sidekick, Lamar Hoskins, aka Battlestar, and they both serve in the Army, U.S. Army, and Walker was chosen because of his military record, medals, and they also say he's like in peak physical shape. I don't know about that, but he was chosen because he's a great soldier, and they think he can, be the new face, new symbol of Captain America. So then Bucky confronts Sam about why Sam gave away the shield. And so Sam's like, I'm in the middle of a mission, Bucky. I gotta go. So Bucky just joins him on this mission to go find the Flag Smashers. And there's a really funny line I like here. Like when Bucky says, Sam's like, how do you know about Gandalf? And Bucky's like, I read The Hobbit in 1937 when it was first published. And it's just funny because it reminds you how old Bucky actually is. Like he actually read the book when it first came out. That's crazy. But then Sam also kind of keeps mentioning the big three: aliens, robots, and wizards. And I like Bucky says, like, Doctor Strange is not a wizard, he's a sorcerer. But I don't know why they would assume it's one of the big three: aliens, robots, or wizards, because most of the Marvel villains that have taken place on Earth, not like the cosmic ones like Thor and the Guardians, but most of the Earth villains have just been people. Like, actually, most of them are like super soldiers. Ultron, I think, was the only robot we had. There's no wizards unless you do count the sorcerers. There's been a few aliens, like, the Chitauri and Avengers and, Thanos and stuff. But, really, most of the villains have just been people with power suits or enhanced abilities. So I'm not sure why they just assume it's one of the big three. I thought that was a little weird. But it does set up the nice joke about Bucky reading The Hobbit in 1937. But anyway, so Sam and Bucky go after the Flag Smashers. We get this like really cool fight on top of like the moving trucks in the road. I kind of like that. And then like new Captain America and Lamar show up to help and kind of mess things up a little bit. And we learn that the Flag Smashers have super soldier serum like within them, and they're also like transporting it as well. So Bucky then takes Sam to meet Isaiah Bradley, and we learned that the government had experimented on Bradley and some others in the 1950s with super soldier serum, and I believe he was the only one that was able to survive the testing, and he kind of just became a test subject for decades. People, studying him, taking his blood samples, until he was freed in the 1980s by a nurse, and he just, I think, kind of just hid away, to kind of live his life peacefully. So it's kind of an interesting reveal that, there is a super soldier out there. There's a black man that's a super soldier that nobody ever knew about, and since the 1950s or late 1950s. And so it really kind of opened Sam's eyes up a little bit. And Sam even asked, well, did Steve know? And Bucky's like, no, I never told him. And I think the only reason Bucky knows is because Bucky also has the super soldier serum, and he was part of Hydra, and Isaiah Bradley mentioned that Hydra was one of the people that were studying him as well. So then Bucky gets arrested in the street for not making his court-mandated therapy session. And then so he and Sam meet up with the therapist, and we get like a nice little scene of them trying to work out their issues. And I feel really bad for Bucky when Bucky tells Sam that, if Steve was wrong about you, then that means he's wrong about me. And that's really sad because Bucky is, struggling to come to terms with his past, and he thinks, Steve believed that he could still be a good man. And so if Steve was wrong about Sam, then maybe he's wrong about him. And so it's just kind of a nice little part of Bucky's journey. And so episode 3 opens up with Bucky helping Baron Zemo, Helmut Zemo from Captain America Civil War, escape from a German prison that he was put in. And so because they need him to help find the super soldier serum, or who created the new batch of super soldier serum, because Zemo was somebody who was like obsessed with finding super soldiers and stuff. And then so we go to a place called Madripoor, and they meet up with Sharon Carter. So it's cool to have Sharon come back, and she actually helps them find the scientist who created the new batch of super soldier serum, and he explains that he was given a blood sample from Isaiah Bradley, and he was able to recreate a version of the super soldier serum, but without the big muscles and everything. So let's take a quick little journey on the MCU and the super soldier serum and where it's been. So in the late 1930s or early 1940s, the Red Skull was created by Dr. Erskine's sort of prototype version of super soldier serum that we learn about in Captain America: The First Avenger. And of course it was, not super successful. He has a red skull. But then Erskine revised the super soldier serum, and we got in 1942 Steve Rogers takes the serum, and it's a very different type of thing because the serum has to be injected into his muscle groups, and then he has to be exposed to Vita rays. So it's actually a whole process that creates Steve Rogers as Captain America. And then later, Bucky is saved off the train, and he's turned into the Winter Soldier, presumably, I believe, because Arnim Zola, who worked with the Red Skull, probably created a version of the Super Soldier Serum for Bucky, probably maybe based on Red Skull's blood or something. And then in the 1950s, we had Isaiah Bradley is given some other type of super soldier serum. Again, who knows who created that one, and he's experimented on. And then in 1991, Hydra steals Howard Stark's super soldier serum and creates more Winter Soldiers, which Zemo then kills in Civil War when they're in cryosleep. So Howard Stark developed a version of the super soldier serum as well. And then somewhere in the 2000s, Bruce Banner tried to use gamma radiation to recreate the super soldier serum, and we got the Hulk, Bruce Banner, and then also in 2008, Emil Blonsky is given small doses of the super soldier serum by General Ross, but then he takes it one step further and he becomes the Abomination. And then apparently Isaiah Bradley's blood was used to make super soldier serum for this scientist, and he was able to create a new batch, which then are given to the Flag Smashers, or the Flash Smashers, I believe, take this new super soldier serum, and that's in 2023, because remember the 5-year gap. So there's been a lot of experimenting on the super soldier serum throughout the years in Marvel timeline, and none of them are essentially the same. They're all just sort of building and adding on and doing their own version, which is why we never truly recreated Steve Rogers' transformation with the super soldier serum. They've all just kind of been different. And so then that's kind of where we are now with the super soldier serum. Bucky has it. To some extent, Hulk and Abomination have it. The Flag Smashers now have it. Isaiah Bradley has it. Steve had it. So we actually have a lot of people with super soldier variations, and now the Flag Smashers, of course. So, and then by the end of the show, John Walker has it. Why isn't General Ross all over this? Maybe he is. Maybe we'll see in Captain America: New World Order something going on, maybe with more super soldier serum, because I think we were confirmed that the leader is going to be the villain in that. So maybe super soldier serum comes back into play. I don't know. But so then episode 4 has Sam, Bucky, and Zemo go to a place called Riga to, I believe it's one of the, someplace in Europe, to find Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers. And then we get to meet the Dora Milaje from Wakanda. And they pop up because they're also tracking Zemo now that he's escaped, because they want justice for him killing King T'Chaka. So we get a quick flashback of Bucky's time in Wakanda with Io, and he's, overcoming his Winter Soldier programming. He's being cured of it. And so I like that. I like bringing in the Dora Milaje. I think they're really cool. I like seeing the connection, just reminding us, Bucky was in Wakanda, and just kind of bringing that in, a little bit more of the MCU flavor into the show, really kind of saying, yes, this is a part of, the greater MCU. I really like that, and the Dora Milaje are awesome. And so John Walker and Lamar show up to try to help bring in Carly and kind of mess things up again. And Zemo ends up getting his hands on the super soldier serum and crushes all of the vials except for one. And John Walker ends up grabbing that one. And then we get a fight between Walker and the Dora Milaje. And it's kind of a cool fight. I like Sam's like, you might want to mess with them. And the Dora Milaje are like, he's like, they don't have jurisdiction here. And she's like, we have jurisdiction wherever we say we have jurisdiction. And then we also see Io remove Bucky's vibranium arm, which is kind of interesting. I think it makes a little sense, though, that they would build in like some sort of fail-safe for the arm in case Bucky did go bad again. Of course they would. But I just kind of like that little detail. Like, yeah, we could take away your arm, Bucky. And then, so John Walker gets his butt kicked by the Dora Milaje. And he kind of just says, like, they weren't even super soldiers. Like, he's like, kind of opens his eyes just about how powerless he really is. And so he talks with Lamar, and he does end up taking the last vial of super soldier serum. And then they go to confront Carly again, and she accidentally kills Lamar, and then John Walker just kind of snaps. And he runs after one of the flag smashers that's not Carly, and he takes the Cap shield and he just kills him in the street in front of everybody. Because he just kind of lost it. And that's kind of where we end that episode. A little bit of a shocker. And then episode 5 opens with Bucky and Sam trying to take the shield from John Walker, and they end up in a fight. And Sam gets the shield back. And it's kind of an interesting fight because it's, Bucky and John now have the super soldier serum, but Sam doesn't, but he has the Falcon. And I don't know, it's an interesting fight, and I think it kind of proves to me none of them really deserve to be the new Captain America, in my opinion. Definitely not John Walker, who's kind of gone off the rails. Definitely not Bucky, who's passed as the Winter Soldier. And then Sam doesn't even have super soldier serum, and he kind of gets his butt kicked a little bit. But it's definitely a cool fight. And so Sam gets the shield back. And then he ends up giving the Falcon suit and wings to Torres, who I think they're sending him up to be the next Falcon. And then John Walker's discharged from the military and fired from being the new Captain America. But then he gets recruited by Val, who we'll see later on a little bit in the MCU. See what she's up to. But she's kind of recruiting him. And then the Dora Milaje, they take Zemo off to the raft. And then Sam goes back to talk to Isaiah Bradley again. And then Sam goes to talk to Isaiah Bradley again. And he tells Sam that people would never accept a black man as Captain America. And that no self-respecting black man would want to be Captain America. And it kind of shakes Sam up a little bit. And I think it's kind of a sad outlook that Sam kind of realizes that needs to be changed in society. And so Sam starts to kind of think about, is that, now that he has the shield, is that something that he does want to take on? It'll be hard to overcome, but, what example would he be setting if he didn't, So I kind of like that. And then Sam talks to Bucky in a very kind of Steve Rogers way. He tells him, you need to start helping the people that you hurt in the past, to make amends, not just for you, but for them. And it's a kind of a nice little moment. It feels something like Steve would say. And then, so we get like this training montage of Sam with the shield. And I gotta say, the physics of the shield they've just lost me. Like, it's sharp enough to be embedded into the tree and to like hurt people, but also it can bounce off of the trees and Sam can just catch it with his hands and not cut himself. Like, what is going on with the shield? So, and they also like just catch it, like make it look, they're just bouncing it and catching it, catching it, and they make it look easy. And it kind of takes away the specialness of, what Steve did with the shield a little bit too. So, I could buy it if Steve, or someone with the super soldier serum can wield the shield like that, but Sam's just a dude, and like, that would hurt his hands. So, I don't know, I'm not really buying into the shield anymore. It's still a cool shield though. Anyway, so the last episode, Sam gets a new suit created with Wakanda technology. Bucky asked the Dora Milaje. And so he, Bucky, and Sharon go to New York to stop Carly and the Flag Smashers, who have teamed up with Batroc, because Batroc wants revenge for Sam for the fight in the first episode. And Carly's goal, I think her goal is to blow up that GCP or GRP or whatever, GRC council thing in New York. And so Sam has his new Captain America suit, which I think it's kind of cool. It looks, design-wise, it's kind of cool. I like the color scheme they went with. I think the headpiece needs a little bit of work. Like, the ears are like just sticking out, and he's got nothing covering the top of his head. Like, even Steve wore like a helmet, and he's a super soldier, and Sam's like flying through the air. Like, he crashes, he needs a helmet. So I think they need to work on the suit a little bit more, but it's still pretty cool looking though. And so, Sam is, proclaims himself, he's the new Captain America. And he's, doing a lot of more aerial stuff with a helicopter, which is kind of cool. And then also Sam catches a falling armored car later on. And I'm not sure that even with Sam's thrusters on his wings, I'm not sure that he could even lift that. Because, again, he doesn't have super soldier serum. Those things weigh a lot, and those have to be powerful thrusters. I don't know. It's a nice moment to prove himself as Captain America by saving these innocent civilians and everything. But I still don't really believe that Sam, even with the help of his thrusters, could lift that thing up. But anyway, because even John Walker, who does have super soldier serum now, it was a bit heavy for him to even try to lift. And Sam doesn't have an Iron Man suit. It's just wings with some thrusters, little thrusters. Anyway, it's a minor nitpick, but it does show that he's taken on the mantle of Captain America. So John Walker does come in here because he wants to fight Carly for revenge of Lamar's death, and it's a nice little line. Like she kind of says like, I'm sorry for your friend's death, but she says I didn't want to kill anybody that didn't matter. And John says, you think Lamar's life doesn't matter? And she responds, not to my cause. So, this is kind of like a Black Lives Matter reference, obviously. But it also just shows, like, how bad of a person Carly is. Like, because she's drawn a line between, like, who she thinks deserves to die for her cause and who doesn't. Like, she doesn't care about the casualties involved. Like, sorry your friend's dead. I didn't want to have to kill him because it doesn't matter to my cause. But, oops. And so it kind of proves like she's really not a good person. Doesn't matter what, the good in the cause that she's fighting for. Even Sam tells her, I believe in the cause, but your methods are just completely off. And so it's kind of a good way to like remind you that, yeah, she is the villain. So John fights Carly, and, he has this moment where he has to make a decision of does he go after her or does he try to save the armored car full of civilians. And it's a good moment where he kind of, learns to what it really means to be Captain America. He was not no more, but when he was, and we know what it means to be a hero now. So he does try to save the car, but I think he loses his grip because they're attacking him, and so Sam comes in and saves the day. But I do like that sort of, it's a subtle journey with John Walker that I think kind of pays off in the end, but doesn't fully redeem him. And then we get the reveal that Sharon Carter is actually the power broker, which I think we all kind of knew. And then Carly was actually working for her, but went rogue when she stole the super soldier serum. So Sam comes in, tries to talk to Carly, but before Carly can shoot Sam and kill him, Sharon kills Carly. And then also Batroc is in there somewhere. Also, I think Sharon ends up shooting him because she doesn't want her secret as the power broker to get out. So then Sam talks to the Global Reparations Council, I think it's GRC, and he gives them like this speech about how they need to do better, and I like the line where he tells them that this girl Carly and all of her followers were willing to die, and to try to stop you, and none of you stopped to ask why. And I think it's a good reminder that, we need to stop just like labeling people and blaming people for things. We need to try harder to listen to them and have a little more compassion for people and what they're going through, especially people in positions of power who are making decisions that will affect, people that aren't them, and, millions of people. And so I do like that speech that Sam gives. It kind of feels a little empty and hollow a bit because, like, you have this GRC council. Like, are they really going to just, like, oh, we got a talking to by the new Captain America. We need to do better. Like, I don't know. But it's still a good speech, though. And it's a great moment to show that Sam is now the new Captain America. And so then Bucky finally confronts Yori and tells him about his past and that he killed his son. So we get that for Bucky. And then Sam goes back to talk to Isaiah Bradley, and he takes him to the museum, the old Captain America museum, where there now is a display of Isaiah Bradley showing, all of everything that he did and sacrificed. And so, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a touching moment. And I think it's really nice that Sam did that for Isaiah Bradley, so that now everybody knows his story. And so I really like that. And then we kind of end the show with Sam, Bucky, and his sister, Sarah, celebrating with their community that, they fixed up the boat. They don't have to sell it no more. And it's kind of a fun little, party scene wrapping up that whole storyline. And then there is a post-credit scene that shows that Sharon has been pardoned and she will get her old job back. And it kind of just sets her up as the power broker going forward in the future. I think we're going to see her in Armor Wars, possibly Captain America New Winter Soldier. I'm not really sure where she's going to fit in that. And also the end credits line says Captain America and the Winter Soldier instead of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Although shouldn't it say White Wolf instead of Winter Soldier, because the whole show has been about Bucky shedding the Winter Soldier past. And they even say White Wolf a few times in the show. So I think they should have changed that to Captain America and the White Wolf. But maybe nobody would know what that means. But we're not going to get a season 2 of the show anyway, so it doesn't matter. But so that's the episode recaps. But so overall, I really did enjoy this show more on the second rewatch. What I love is that we take these two side characters of Steve Rogers and we give them their own show and their own journey. We get to know Sam and Bucky more and develop their characters and give them their own character arcs. And while I still don't really like the idea of passing on the mantle of Captain America, like, I don't think it should be a mantle. Like, Captain America is Steve Rogers, is Captain America is Steve Rogers. Like, I don't think it should be a mantle that we pass on. So I still don't like that idea, but, and even Zemo says, yeah, but there's never been another Steve Rogers, So, I still don't like that. But what the show does do a good job, I think, in setting up Sam to be a new type of Captain America. So, like, we showed John Walker as this, like, government sort of symbol Captain America type, in title only. But he never really deserved to be Captain America. But what I do like they did with Sam is that, Sam, he does have, morality and, human compassion like Steve had. But unlike Steve, Sam is a product of the modern world, and he understands, the gray in between the black and the white, where I think Steve was a little bit more black and white. And so because of that, he was, born into a different time in America. And also he's a black man, so he has a completely different perspective on it. And so I think, I don't like him being, Captain America in title, but I do think the show did a good job in showing that this is a Captain America for the current modern times. This is a new type of Captain America. This isn't Steve Rogers' Captain America. This is a different Captain America that we have. Captain America that is going to represent, currently what we have in America. And so I like that, but I still don't really like, it's still weird calling him Captain America. But I do like that they at least brought him on the journey to where he earned that title. And it's a different Captain America. So I do like that. I love bringing back Sharon Carter and seeing what she's been up to. Having her be, the power broker is kind of cool and interesting. I like this version of Baron Zemo. I think he's kind of fun. And I love seeing the Dora Milaje return. They're always awesome. I think it just, all that stuff just makes the show feel more like it's a part of the MCU, and that we're following up with all of these characters that we already know. And while I don't love John Walker, I mean, I think we're definitely not supposed to like him, especially in the beginning. I do think the last 2 episodes kind of do a good job sort of redeeming him, or at least kind of, getting his perspective on things a little bit better. I think it could have been handled a little bit better, but I do like where he kind of ends up at the end. And of course, we see Val recruiting him for, the Thunderbolts, and he's U.S. agent now. So I do kind of like that he did come around in the end, but he's still not a very likable character. And then the main big problem that I have with the show is the Flag Smashers as the villains. I think the philosophical notion that Carly Morgenthau had, that she's fighting for and everything, I think that's interesting. I think that could have been really something to explore. But the problem is that we as the audience have no sense of what she's fighting for. We never got a good look at what life was like during the 5-year blip. Like, all we saw was Steve Rogers leading a depressing therapy group, trash piled up on the streets, baseball stadiums abandoned. Like, we saw the bad. We looked bleak. But Carly's trying to say that everything was better. There was no borders, and people helped each other, which, I mean, sounds great, but we never saw that. So I have no idea what she's fighting for and why it's so important. So I think if we had gotten maybe like a small flashback of Carly during that time and seeing how things were for her and then how they've been changed now, I think that would have really helped sort of sell her motivations. I mean, we don't agree with her methods, but, we could have empathized with her a little bit more. So I think that's probably the biggest problem. But so the villains really are the weakest part. They just kind of are there to be antagonists and super soldiers for Sam and Bucky to fight. So I think that's kind of weak. I think the show could have also just been like a movie or a 2-part, hour and a half or hour 2-part miniseries or something. Like, I'm not sure that we needed all 6 episodes. We probably could have done without some scenes and stuff. But I think the overall narrative works pretty darn well, and they're setting up a lot of things for the future of the MCU for projects that'll come later in Phase 5. So I understand why they did it as a 6-episode show, but the episodes are fairly short, and I think we could have cut a few things out. I think a little rearranging, you could have made this just into like a 2.5-hour movie, but that's okay. So overall, I really did enjoy this show. It's not quite as good as, WandaVision or even Miss Marvel for me, but I think it's actually pretty solid. And I do remember, I liked it the first time, so I do like it this time. And so I'm looking forward to what this sets up for the future of the MCU, which unfortunately we're having to wait a long time to see, but I do like all of that stuff. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Some people maybe not liked it. Some people I think loved it. Share your thoughts, and thank you all for watching the video. Stay tuned to the channel for more Marvel Phase 4 reviews. Up next is going to be the Loki show. So until next time, everybody, who are we fighting now? Gandalf? Bye.